today to talk about you and how reading has changed your life. So can you just give me and everyone watching and listening a little bit of background about yourself?
So background, so I'll start off with when I was, so I'm born in the UK, I'm born in Oxford. I moved everywhere. So when I was 7, I moved to Belgium. I went to boarding school until I was 13. I went to boarding school because my parents didn't have enough time to take care of me at the time. So I went to boarding school in Belgium. Monday to Friday, I'm at boarding school. Saturday and Sunday, I'm in France at my brother's apartment because it was right at the border. So then when I was 13 years old, I came back to the UK, had a few troubles, got sent to Peru, got arrested, etc. Ended up in Tottenham after becoming homeless. And then I met my mentor, so Tom.
So what age was you homeless?
So I was homeless from 14 to 16.
Wow. And when you say homeless, this might sound weird, but what type of homeless? Because I know, because like there was one point when I didn't have anywhere to live, but I lived with my friends, but technically I would be classed as homeless because it wasn't my home. I was just staying on my friend's, living literally in my friend's bed. So what was your type? What did your homelessness look like, if that's a better way to say it?
It was not a street homeless,
right?
But I was homeless. So for the first year I was homeless, I was at my brother's apartment. It was me, a mum. So in Tottenham, because he moved from France to Tottenham. So it was me, my mum, my sister, himself, his wife, and his 4 kids in a 2-bed apartment in Tottenham.
Right.
Second year, council sent us to a hostel around the area in North London, and was there for another year. It was like a hostel. It was 1 room. It was me, my mum, and sister, and it was like just a small room. We got 3 beds there, a little toilet inside, and you just locked in there pretty much.
And how was that for you, like as a young boy, like having to live like that? What effect would you say that had on you?
I think the effect is that, I've got the space to myself. So obviously, and with, when everyone's in like condensed in a small area, in a small space, we tend to, argue, tend to like get annoyed at each other for small things, get irritated, start having arguments, becomes a headache. Now you want to go outside and get some fresh air, but there's not much you can do. You're just packed in a small area pretty much. So you pretty much space. You can't really do much.
Yeah. So because
but I guess the main thing was that I was getting into arguments with my family members quite a lot because we was all packed in a small space. I was getting into a lot of arguments with my mum, sister, my nieces and nephews and everything like that.
Is that when you would say you kind of started going down the wrong kind of path? Or how did that happen? How did you get caught up in the wrong type of lifestyle?
I mean, so that started when I came back from Belgium. So when I was 13 and I came back from Belgium, I came to the UK. I lived in an area, was more of a white-dominated area. So it was a village. And at the time, when I was going to school, it was year 8, and I was in a mainstream school, secondary school. But the only black people in the school was me, my sister, and some other person. So when I was in the school, a lot of the Caucasian people would get onto me. So, they would call me the N-word, they'd call me fat nose, you can't swim, etc. Your mum hits you with a belt, and all of that stuff. And then, so basically the first day, I think on my second day, I went to the school, I had a fight already. And then, and that was on the Tuesday, and then on the Friday, I had another fight. And I was having back-to-back fights just through trying to defend myself, because all types of names. In a way, I'm getting bullied in a way. So I can't just sit there and do nothing. I've got to defend myself. Then it got to the point where I was getting too bad, where I had to bring a knife into school for protection. And then I ended up chasing someone with that same knife, which caused me to get arrested that same day. So the police came to my house around 7 p.m. They came twice. First time I answered the door, second time I answered the door. I got arrested. I got put in a cell for about 23 hours. Then I also got suspended for 5 days first from my school. And then on the third day, they told us that I'm going to get permanently suspended and I'm going to be going to a PRU, so people referral unit. So I was in the PRU for 2 years in total.
So
And
when you was getting almost harassed by these other pupils, what did the school say? Was there any repercussions for, like, did they intervene so it didn't get to the point now where you were excluded?
I mean, I told them about the issues, but they can't really do much because those same people that are calling me these names and are attacking me, they're people, they're all Caucasians, and I'm pretty much one of the only black people in the school. So even though I told them that, I can't really do much. So it just ended up with me, finding my own ways for protection, which then led me to become more involved in kind of crime and stuff like that, which led to my house getting bricked eventually. If you're having a beef with so many people, my house got bricked 3 times. And
Wow.
the first time that it got bricked, that's when the next time I went to Tottenham, because my brother moved from France, like I said. So I went to his apartment in Tottenham, and my family followed along.
I mean, when you're telling me this, it makes me feel like if only the schools had kind of listened to you, then you wouldn't have got in, because it sounds like you were just trying to, like you said, protect yourself. So how did all of this, when you're going through all of this, how did this make you feel? Did you feel like there was anyone there for you? Did you feel like you was on your own? And then how did reading help you?
Okay, so at the time, I think the emotion that I was feeling was probably anxiousness. So obviously I'm anxious. I know people might come to my house, like we did many times. So I would go missing quite a lot. I'll just leave my house for like a week or two. Police will find me. I'll get taken back. I'll go missing again. Because I know that if I'm at my house, I'm unsafe. People can come to my house at any time. If they see me, then I'm pretty much messed. So many times I'm walking, for example, and you see people just try to jump me. But I'll go through a park. You see them just put out a knife and punch me in the face and everything like that. So I just went missing quite a bit. And then when I went to Tottenham, I met. So I went. My brother brought me to a Tottenham gym. It was a gym. It was a kind of a fitness gym. So it was focused on fitness. But we also had another boxing gym next to it. So that was the Harringay Amateur Boxing Club, and next to that was the Tottenham gym. So over there, I was going there Tuesdays and Thursdays. And on a Tuesday, Tommy, my mentor, he would come down and do insanity workouts with us. So he'll leave a session, and eventually I started to talk to one of his mentees of Jazz, so his mentees, and we started talking about books, and he was showing me his progress and his process he's gone through Tommy's program, and so then from there. He showed me about reading, why I should read, how to read, and he just kind of brought me from like step one and just went through the steps together. And he just showed me pretty much how to read, which I can explain.
Go. Can you tell us tell us the steps?
Okay, so it started off with, so the first step was he bought me a book. It was I think the 16th round, from Reuben Carter. It was a book on boxing. And obviously, as I was doing boxing at the time, that was my interest. So he gave me that book. I read it.
What? 16 rounds?
16th round.
Okay, cool.
By Reuben Carter. So I read that boxing book. I liked it because I had interest in boxing myself as a boxer at the time. Amateur boxer. And that was my actual first time actually reading properly since I was 6 years old, pretty much. I've not read since I was in primary school. So until then, until I'm 14, and I'm reading again. And I like the book. So now I'm seeing reading as a nice thing to do now, which kind of led him to give me other books that would more improve myself, books that I actually need right now. So for some of the subjects would be at the time, self-help and spiritual development. So he would advise me to read certain books on spiritual development and self-help. I read them one by one, by identifying the purpose that I need to fulfill right now. So for example, if I've got a problem at the time, let's say I'm stressed, I'm homeless, I need help, like I would go read one of the best spiritual books that I can find, which kind of tell me to read. But at the time, because I don't really have money, he would buy the books for me. So he would.
So you said before that before you started reading, again, before that, it was primary school you started. So that was, would you say primary school is the last time you probably started, you read books properly? Which I don't think is a strange thing, because I don't, especially now in the era that we live in with social media and things are so quick access. You can just read something, 5 lines, and everyone feels like they know everything already. Before you started reading again, what was your relationship with reading? Because I know personally me, I love to listen to audiobooks because it works better for me as a person. But what was your relationship before you started reading again? Was it like, oh, I don't like reading, it's boring, or it's not for me, there's no books that I'm going to be interested in? What was that? Talk a bit about that.
So I think, so I see reading as a thing that nerds would do. So, you know,
right, okay.
Be in a school library reading books, and I thought it was a nerd thing to do. I thought it was not cool. You know, it's not trendy to be reading books. And also, I think also what kind of made me feel that way is, you know, the way that schools show you about reading, you know, they mainly tell you to read like fiction books about it. For example, school libraries, you mainly see fiction books, and then you see quote unquote nerds reading those fiction books, which is very uninteresting, at least to people like me that I was like back at the time. Until I read that boxing book, which showed there's not only fiction books, there's actual books that I can actually be interested in, and there's the books that can actually improve my life and my situation.
And would you say that because of what you was going through in your personal life, did you see reading as somewhat of like an escapism? It took you away from like reality, and it, even though you wasn't reading fiction, but it gave you some you time where you was kind of like lost in your own world. Is that what it was like, or nah?
After the boxing book, and I started to read respiratory books and self-help books, that kind of gave me more motivation and inspiration to actually go out and do things and not feel hopeless about life. Because obviously through the self-help books, we show you the people that went from like 0 to 100, and we show you how to do the steps. And again, with Images as well, my mentor is like, you basically got a blueprint in a way, and you basically just follow the program. And the more that you follow the program, the more motivated you are, and the more you improve, and you can see your improvement as well, just by looking at your life in the next 2 to 3 months. So for example, when I first started reading, back when I was 14 again, when I started reading again, and I was in January 2020, it was the 6th of January 2020. And then let's say by March 2020, I now went from a pre to a mainstream school. So through reading the spiritual books, self-help books, I'm now starting to improve myself, and I'm starting to stop hanging around people that I shouldn't be hanging around with. I'm starting to talk differently. I'm starting to do things differently. I'm starting to train more. I'm now doing a lot more runs. I'm going to the gym. I'm doing my books and stuff. I'm reading books. I'm improving myself generally, which obviously my pre saw in me, which led me to go into mainstream school. So through those 3 months, I've already seen the big improvement that I had. So I think even if I didn't start reading, I wouldn't even went to a mainstream school. I probably would have left year 11 still being in a pre.
And random question, but obviously about reading. What would you say, in your opinion, is the best time to read? Like when, for you personally, and maybe as advice as well, you know, some people like to read before bed, but I can't read before bed because I'll fall asleep. So when would you, like, is there science behind if you read in the morning, it's the best time to intake all the knowledge? Like how does it work for you?
So I think, I'd say, the best time to read is the time when your focus and concentration is at its highest. So that would probably be in the morning, or it would just be simply the first thing you do. So before you check your phone, and before you maybe go eat, for example, you'll just read for about half an hour to an hour. And I normally read for about half an hour before I go to school. That's the first thing I do in the morning, because my mind's clear. I've just woken up. I'm not touching my phone. I'm not seeing my phone. I'm not spoken to anybody. My mind's completely clear. So my focus and concentration is at that point. But some people in the morning don't like the mornings. So then I would just say throughout your day, let's say you have like a lunch break, for example, and you've got 20 minutes. Use those 20 minutes to just read. Go to a quiet space, find a quiet space, maybe in a library or coffee shop, and do your 20 minutes reading there. Or you should aim to read around most of the day. So you could read in the morning, lunchtime, afternoon, and night, but you would like space out your reading for the whole day, pretty much. So that basically your reading becomes anything you do throughout your day.
Do you set yourself targets? Like, do you say, like when I was growing up, my mum always used to say, you should try and read a chapter a day, or like read a chapter a day, and that's good. Like whatever it is, just read a chapter. Do you set yourself targets, or do you kind of, once you're engrossed, you're engrossed?
So when I read, I put a timer on. So when I read or study, so I use a 1 hour timer. So I'll read an hour. But the aim is minimum. When I'm studying, I'm in college. I'm in sixth form college. I would read a minimum of an hour a day, and if I was not in college, I'd be reading a minimum of 2 to 3 hours per day. But that's just a minimum. A maximum, I would go up to 5 hours per day, because after 5 hours.
Wait, of constantly reading?
No,
or you're taking breaks?
No, so an hour.
I was about to say, whoa, that's a lot. No. Like, whoa.
That's way too much. That's way too much. So you would put a timer for about an hour.
Okay.
Take like half an hour to another hour break. Do what you got to do. Then go back to reading again. Or let's say if you're in college, for example, and you're trying to do 2 hours reading per day, you could do it 1 hour before you go to school, like in your bed or at your desk. Then you could do another hour after school, but you would space out the reading between in your days. You wouldn't do it all at one time.
And what would, because I'm pretty sure there'll probably be people that are listening to this that even half an hour seems quite daunting for them. Like half an hour seems, wow, that's a lot. What about people that are just getting back into reading? How would you say is a good way to kind of like build up how many hours you can read for? Like, can you give some tips and some advice?
So I'd say when you're first starting out, so before I even say how you should do it, first thing is you shouldn't really be reading just, you know how you normally you got the book in your hands and you're just reading normally. You should use a reading guide. So a reading guide could be a pen or a pencil. And basically when you're reading, you're kind of underlining the words and through each sentence. So that way, when you're reading, obviously you're now more focused on the book, because when you're like this, your mind can go anywhere. But with the pen, and each of the sentences. So that's one way to get back into reading with your focus. And then when you do that, you should read for only 20 minutes at a time. So you put on your timer for 20 minutes and you just read. You focus, you're reading with the reading guide as fast as you can whilst understanding the words and the sentences. And you just put a 20-minute timer, you have a little break for another 20 minutes, go back again. So we'll go like this: 20-minute reading, 20-minute break, 20-minute reading, 20-minute break, 20-minute reading, 20-minute break, and that would be an hour reading in total. And then as your focus and as your focus increases over time, you then go to about half an hour reading, and then maybe 10 minutes off, then half an hour reading, 10 minutes off, and then eventually you can get to an hour reading in total with like another half an hour to an hour break. Then you go again. But that obviously depends on how your day spaced out. You might have a work to do, so you do the hour in the morning and an hour in the afternoon.
So, what do all your friends around you read as well?
No, they don't all read. But
the only reason why I asked is because, like you said, I think it's really interesting that you said, and quite true, that a lot of people, especially young people, I think especially boys as well, I think women, young girls, maybe I'm being a little bit biased, but I feel like we are a little bit better when it comes to those type of things, because we don't look at it as nerdy. Do you know what I mean? I don't, but I feel like, especially with young boys, there's that extra pressure to, appear hard, to appear like, you don't need to do those type of things, because like you said, it's associated with nerds. So the only reason I asked about your friendship circle, because some people listening might be like, oh yeah, but there might be people out there that want to read, but like you're saying, they find it nerdy and their friends around them don't help that. So are there any like friends around you that are kind of like, oh no, man, here you go again with another book, like, so do you get what I mean? Do you have those challenges?
So whenever I encounter new people and they become my friend per se, I would always advise them to read. And in fact, when we're even talking our first conversation and we ask what we do, etc., I'm obviously going to say I'm a reader, because that's pretty much what I do every day. So, right. But whatever, it's not, I can't force them to read. I'd advise them to, but I can't force them to read. So for example, I'd give them a book or two, I'd start reading, I'd show them, with the timer and the reading guide and the kind of program and the process. and they'll do it for 1, 2, 3 weeks. But I'd motivate them. But if they don't want to continue because they find that it's long or it's boring or it's nerdy and they don't want to be judged by other people and they stop reading, I can't really change that. But what I try to do is that when I'm advising my friends to read, I try to make them feel the reason why they should read. So, for example, like schools, you normally read just for entertainment. Us black boys, especially from poor communities, at this time, we can't be reading for entertainment. We need to read for purpose. So, if you're broke and you're poor and your mum's working 2 jobs and you're out here in the streets doing nonsense, I have to make you feel like, what are you doing? Like your mum's poor, you should be reading finance books. You should be reading spiritual books. So you stop getting angry when people try to chat S to you. Can I swear?
I mean, I probably not. I mean, I'm a swearer, but I don't know. I on the safe side, we just S is a good way to say.
when people talk S to you, you get angry and then you start fighting and then you start putting out knives and you go to prison, then you get arrested, and it's so long. So you need to be reading spiritual books, self-help books. You're at a state in your life where you're at the bottom of the system. So you have to find ways to now go up. You have to start improving yourself in many things. How are you going to do that? You have to start reading self-help books. Which books do you read? In Jazz, we can advise you some of the best books of self-help because we read a lot of them and we've seen them. For example, business. You know, you're saying you want to start a business. How are you going to do that? Do you understand business? No. So read a few of these business books. But the point is, you got to make them feel why they should start reading. Because when they start saying to themselves, I'm a black boy, and I'm not really bad, because being bad, like carrying lives don't make me bad. I'm not really bad. I'm really just a poor boy, and this system is pretty much dominating my life right now, and I can't do anything about it. Let me get clued up. Let me get knowledge. Let me learn about the system and about the politics. Let me learn about life in general. So, but if you come at them with, you need to read because it's good for you, you know, it's good for your mind and blah, 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 it won't motivate them to read. So you have to come at them with a reason why, and you have to make them feel it in a way. You have to make them feel. So more times, I've got a friend, for example, I'm not going to say his name, him at the time, he was heavily involved in gang crime as well. He's been stabbed a few times as well and everything like that. But when I came at him with, you know, so technology, for example, so we go to a sixth form college, specialized for computer science and tech. So at the time, I told him, we're in the hood right now, you're poor, you've been stabbed a few times, you've been arrested a few times, you've been out here, your mum's working 2 jobs, she's working, your dad is dead, you got multiple siblings, you're not from this country as well, you're from Africa, and you think that you can just be here and chill and start being outside and doing nothing. That's not what we should be doing. Tech is the future right now. There's books to read on tech. There's a sixth form college where we can go to and study computer science so we can make money in the future instead of being out here on the roads, start trapping, and then start going to prison after 3 years. It makes no sense. So why not you, looking at your situation, you come with me, you try your best to follow the program and read these books, get into the sixth form college, pass your GCSEs, read these books, and get better. But if I didn't tell him, like, you're poor, you're in the hood, your dad's dead, and if I'm not being straight up with him, he won't feel it. But when you start saying your dad is dead and you're from another country, your mom's working 2 jobs, etc., they must start feeling like, why am I just wasting time? Like, I need to actually do something with my life. But again, schools, more time, when we come with the reading stuff, let's say read for entertainment, you know, your mind goes to another place, etc., which is, you know, it's good for some people. You know, I think the fiction books are good for a certain class of people, but at least for our class of people, black people from poor areas, we don't have time to read the fiction books. And when you read, if you read with a purpose, you have to see that purpose first, identify it, and then find a book that can fulfill that purpose.
Amazing. I mean, like everything you're saying, by the way, I'm like mentally taking notes because I think, how old are you?
16.
Wow. It's very, 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 very impressive. And I think it's nice to see, and it kind of warms my heart because you don't often get to see young black men like yourself, you know, who are clearly very educated, very intelligent, and you're here trying to make a difference and tell your friends as well. And that's not the image that we get shown on in the media, even on social media, actually, just in general. So it's really refreshing to hear you speak about reading like this, and the passion that you have for it. What can you give people, myself, everyone listening, like 3 to 5 top tips on reading, whatever, in any capacity, whether it's, you know, how to read or where you should read, anything? What would you say are like the 3 to 5 top things?
So I'd say number 1, read with a reading guide, so a pen or a pencil. And with a reading guide, like I said, you're underlining the words, and you're going through it as fast as you can, while making sure you can understand it at the same time. So that way you focus, and you can increase your reading speed probably times 2 or times 3. Second tip, I'd say, read first thing when you wake up. So don't touch your phone, don't touch anything else. Make sure your mind is clear in the morning, and you start then 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour, whatever it is. Third tip, when you read with a timer, because, for example, when people just read normally, and so let's say I met a young person at my age, and I told them to just read this book. How long do I read for? How many chapters should I read? How many pages should I read? So you have to create kind of, you have to specify how long you should do it for and how you're going to do it. So I'd say, again, put on a timer, always put on a timer, no matter what. Whether you're on a train, put on a timer. Whether you're at home, coffee shop, always put on a timer. Fourth tip, I'd say, read in a quiet space. So you don't want to have distractions around you, like your family members or siblings talking and shouting. You want to be, if you got space in your house, read in your bedroom, close the door. If you don't have space, get some headphones, use some lo-fi hip hop type instrumentals while you're reading, and just read from there. As I'd say, fifth tip, always read with a purpose. So don't just read randomly to entertain yourself. Read with the intention to improve yourself. So in life, we've always got problems to solve. When you choose a book that's going to solve that problem right now.
Amazing. And Noah, are you going to become an author? I mean, you should be. Because I'm guessing you, with the reading, I guess when you read more, your vocabulary becomes better. Your what am I trying to say now? How you think, how you look at the world becomes different. So I'm guessing why would you not now become an author? I'm looking for your books. I'm going to be looking for your books in about 5 years. I'll let you like do your school and everything that you need to do, but in 5 years time I'm going to be looking for Noah books, because
maybe in 5-10 years I might have a book out. Maybe 5-10 years
but even the stuff now, like you're talking about, do you have somewhere, like where can people find you so they can know about these tips? Where can they find you?
So on Instagram they can find me on, if you just type in Noah Manuel, Noah J Manuel, so Noah J Manuel. That's
and do you share your books that you're reading on there and all? Nice.
Every single time that I finish a book, I post a book, and when I'm reading, actually 6th tip for reading, when you read, underline the sentences that you find very important and that we're gonna. So 6th tip, when you're reading, highlight the sentences that you find very important, and then at the end of your book, when you finish reading, post a book on your Instagram, and you write down in the comments the sentences you underlined. So that's what I do every time that I finish a book. And
so what's your Instagram?
Noah J Manuel.
I'm gonna have a look now. Brilliant.
Just the letter J. Noah J Manuel.
Noah J. Oh yes, this one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, cool. Well, Noah, thank you so much. And I've actually followed you because I've actually really enjoyed this conversation, and I want to myself, I want to read a lot more. I want to intake a lot more. So I'm definitely going to follow you and look at all the different. I've noticed that you read on like on a Kindle, on a.
Yeah.
Okay, cool, nice,
So,
nice, nice.
I read on the Kindle because obviously I'm still young and there's many words that I don't know. And on the well, obviously it's improving. There's less and less words that I do not know. But with the Kindle, there's an inbuilt dictionary. So every time you don't understand a word, you can actually just click on it for 1 second and you get a whole definition of the word. So you don't have to, like, if you're reading paperback, you don't have to, go on Google, go on the dictionary and then look at the definition. But and by reading with the Kindle, in the space of 2 years, I've been able to read 95 books.
Wow.
I don't just, like I said, read with a purpose, but through the 2 years from 14 to 16 up to now, I've been able to read in total 95 books. And I think that the Kindle really helped with that because I'm not slowing down by using a paperback book and going to Google and checking the definition.
Right.
But if your vocab is very strengthened and you understand words, then you can just use paperback like my mentor does. He's 600 books up, so using paperback books doesn't trouble him.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Noah, thank you so much for taking out some time to speak to me today, and I've learned loads, and I hope everyone listening and watching has learnt loads as well. Noah, you can find him on his Instagram because there's loads of cool things on here,